Hey guys, Marisa at KitchenTableStamper.com. I have got the most beautiful snow globe Christmas card for you today. Look at that sparkle and shine in a somewhat simple snow globe card that you can make multiples. Features the Wrapped in Plaid Designer Series paper. Here's a beautiful red plaid design. Are you catching the foil in that paper? There's so much beauty and elegance here. Here's a Night of Navy shaded spruce plaid. Look at that gold foil. Today we're going to do one with this green pattern from the Wrapped in Plaid Designer Series paper. Let me show you what you need to make this card. I've got my Still Scenes bundle. It includes the Still Scenes Cling Stamp set, the Snow Globe Scenes die set. When you buy these two products together, you can save 10%. I have some ice stamping glitter. It's a gorgeous, kind of chunky clear glitter, lots of sparkle, not iridescence though necessarily, just a lot of sparkle and shine. I've got my shimmery crystal effects. It makes a great glitter glue, or it stands on its own as a glaze with some sparkle to it. So a great multitasking product right here. My Stampin' pads for this project, we're gonna use some Pool Party, and we'll need a sponge with that. Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Our Stampin' blends for this project are dark, soft suede. I've got my cherry cobbler combo. If you're making a lot of these and you just want to use the dark cherry cobbler, that's okay. The only blending I did on this project was just a little bit with the cherry cobbler in the house. But if you're making a lot of these, you might just go dark cherry cobbler. Your choice after you see how it looks and how much time it takes. I've got my dark So Saffron. I've got light Pool Party, dark shaded spruce, and then some smoky slate. This is my light smoky slate. That's the ink for the project. Our consumable supplies here, I've got a card base. It's Whisper White. You can use the regular Whisper White or thick Whisper White. And it's 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. My Designer Series paper is Wrapped in Plaid. Look at the back of that, isn't it cute? What a great Designer Series paper pack. And this is 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 long, and it makes that perfectly matted layer. Then I just simply have scraps of Whisper White, gold foil, and soft suede cardstock. All right, let's do a little bit of stamping and coloring. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is bring my Memento Tuxedo Black in here and my house image. We're gonna go ahead and ink that up well with Tuxedo Black. We want a nice crisp image. We'll stamp on our Whisper White cardstock scrap. If you're making a lot of these, you can do strips, stamp all your images and color them in strips, and then just die cut by moving the die along. I'm only making one for the video, so if you were mass producing, that's how I'd do. Cut, maybe 2.5 inch strips and stamp a bunch of them, color them all up, and then just move the die along and keep cranking it through the machine to cut them out. Now I'm coloring in my house with Cherry Cobbler, the light version of the Stampin' blends, and I'm going to do a complete base coat. I'm avoiding the windows and making my little red house. Now I'm going to take my dark Cherry Cobbler and I'm just going to add a little shadow under the eaves, do that little edge, that's the underside, down that side of the house, at the corner here, along the bottom, in this area that's shaded by the artist, under the eaves. There, so just a little bit of shadows, and then I'll go over again with a little bit of the light Cherry Cobbler. There we go. That's a good job to do while there's a Christmas movie on. And then some more simple coloring now. No shading at all here. We're going to color our step and walk with the smoky slate. we'll do our front door. This is soft suede. And then there's a tree trunk down here and some branches up here. We'll get the tree trunks on these other two trees. Just use a light touch and add some brown to the background here, and then up here, this one. And you're just using a light, like, flicking motion. Oh, I forgot, let's go back to the dark cherry cobbler. I've been doing the chimney with dark cherry cobbler too. There. Then in the windows, I'm going to use the So Saffron to just make them glow. Putting a little bit of light pool party on my snow where the artist has indicated shadow with the little lines, little hash marks. And then same thing in the snow on the ground, right up along the house. And just scribble in a little shadow. It helps to create depth. Oh, and then on the snow layers on the tree, I'm just going to add a little bit of blue. Now we need the green for our little evergreen here. All right, don't forget the little bush on the side of the house here. Leave some of it white like it's snow-capped. And there's our image. All right, let's do one more bit of stamping. We're gonna have to come back after we die cut, do stamping on the front, but let's stamp the inside of our card here. I'm going to take this awesome greeting. May the timeless message of Christmas fill your heart and home with joy today and always. I think that's a fun greeting right inside the stamp set. It's a nice card because it just requires the one bundle. Now we'll stamp that inside with Memento Tuxedo Black. Not too much pressure. You want a nice crisp font. Don't want to make it flatten out. Ah, beautiful. Nice image. All right, so there's our stamping inside the card. Now I'm going to get my Big Shot. Let's do some quick die cutting. Okay, I've got my Big Shot here. Let's go ahead and lay the soft suede and the gold foil on the platform here. We're going to cut these base pieces. And because of that gold foil, the intricacy of that die, I'm just going to go back and forth. There's our soft suede base, and then our gold foil detail. Now it cut very nicely. All the little details are falling right out. So we'll just give those a little push and clear this die. But look at how nicely that cut. We just went back and forth, super simple. 2 pieces in one pass. All right. Next die cutting we want to do is our card front. So here's our card front. And what you want to do is cut a little window for the snow globe. Now, for a good placement on such a simple card, you want to lay a hashtag over your project in your imagination. So 2 vertical lines dividing the space in 3, 2 horizontal lines dividing the space in 3. And where those lines, the right vertical, the bottom horizontal, meet, that's where you want the intersection to be over your focal point image. It's, I think, called the rule of thirds, something I learned in art school a long, long time ago. So that's why the placement of our dome, kind of in this bottom right corner. We're going to add the dome to the cardstock, or to the designer series paper, and then we'll tack down for placement. This is where we think we might like our little window to the dome to be. A little tip for mass producing this: if you carefully stack up 2 at a time, your die will have no problem cutting 2 windows at a time. So you can get 2 card fronts with every pass. Now let's die cut our little house image. The Snow Globe Scenes die set has this awesome little die. It'll cut out our little house image. Make sure that when you line it up, the edge of your die touches the edge of your stamped image. So I'm checking at a few points that I see the edge of the die exactly on the edge of the image. I'm checking the snowbank, branches at the top, branches at the top, branches at the top, the snowbank. So when I'm happy with that, and I do see that my die is touching the edge in those points, I'll put a little piece of washi tape and crank it through. Of course, it takes longer to describe that process than it does to do that process, but you'll be happy with a nice even border all the way around your cut if you just check in multiple points before you run it through. So there is our perfectly trimmed image. Much faster than scissors, yes? All right, let's finish up this card. All right, here's our card front. Our greeting's already inside, so let's make sure that it's right side up. And we're going to dry fit our little paper here. You can glue it down at this point if you want to. I'm going to ink up the details of the dome, that little reflection art, the outer edge, and we're going to stamp onto the card right inside the opening. Light pressure, you don't want to smash out your lines, just give it a second to transfer. And then lift up, there's your little details. Now we need some multi-purpose liquid glue. We're going to liquid glue our cover. You can absolutely use snail here. I like the liquid glue because it can go kind of right around that dome window, that cutout, and then around the edges. And a little bit of glue will go a very long way. Don't put too much, you don't want it to smush out, make everything sticky. And placement for that is equal borders, right, left, top and bottom, making sure your details show in your window. And then burnish down. All right, now let's glue our little gold details to our soft suede base using a little multi-purpose liquid glue. If you wanted to, here you can take a sponge, like the one that we're going to use for the ink. You can use one sponge for ink and one sponge for glue. So if you take the sponge, cut it into sixths, then put the glue on like a plastic plate or a stamp block, then you can just swipe the glue on the back of this little piece with a sponge and stick it down to the base. I have no problem tracing a fine line of glue on the back of here, and it saves me a step. But if you find that you have a little bit of trouble with glue on such small areas, squeeze a puddle out on a non-porous surface and then use the sponge like we're going to use for inking and just swipe a little bit of glue across the back. You don't need to hit every single point, so it's better to kind of work your edges and corners, and then a little bit in the center. A little bit of this will go a very long way. It's very tacky, so less really is more. All right, so you got a little bit of glue there, and we'll drop that on top. Gives it such a three-dimensional golden look. I love that. All right, next step, let's get our pool party Stampin' pad. We're going to pick up a little bit of ink on the sponge, and then I like to have a little bit of scratch paper and pounce off just a bit, because you can put more on, you can't take it off. So pounce, and then swirl in, pick up, pounce, swirl in, and now we got a nice blue sky behind our snow scene. Super simple, but it adds to the dimensional look of the piece. Now here's our beautiful little house, and this is another thing if you're doing mass production, if you're going to make multiples of this card, I would suggest that you cut them all out and then add your shimmer crystal effects. I'm going to do some in the snow here. Now the idea is squeeze a little bit out and spread it with the nozzle. You do not want a thick layer of this here because it will take a long time to dry if you do it real thick. You could if you want to, but it's going to use a lot of product, take a long time to dry. So your choice. And then we're scribbling a very thin layer on the snow caps on the branches here. A little bit on this shrub outside the house, very conservative, and rub the nozzle to spread the shimmer crystal effects. Sprinkle on the scratch paper with your Stampin' Ice glitter all the way to the top of the tree. You want to conserve all of this. That's why you're going to work on scratch paper. Flick the excess. See that? You can set that aside. Then all of this gets picked up and put right back in the jar for the next card. Use a bigger piece of paper and do several of these at once. Return the excess to the jar and repeat the process. All right, let's get some Stampin' Dimensionals here. Got some mini Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm going to add them on the back of the base of the globe here. You can cut up your dimensionals, spread it out so it's supported. 3 little dimensionals on the back of my house. Dimensionals are all sticky. Let's go ahead and add the base to our snow globe and our house inside. What a pretty little winter scene. Simple and striking. And there's all the different patterns from that Wrapped in Plaid Designer Series paper. All right, if you've got any questions about the project, or if there's anything I can do to help you stay crafty, email Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com to pick up this awesome bundle of product, the still scenes and the snow globe scenes dies. You can buzz over to marisaalvarez.stampinup.net. Thanks for watching.